Next topic. Number 144 N4 Tritium Niagara, adding BACnet driver to JACE-8000 and config. The boss presents, Fueltech FT700 plus Impala Niagara 4 BACnet driver install showdown, starring the Tweedle twins and the BACnet Chicas. Cue supercharged hiss from the compressed air ECU and that dump of an airbag JACE-8000 doing the worm on its belly. Scene 1, welcome to the BACnet strip, baby. Now listen here, we ain't just cruisin', we tunin' this FT700 plus powered beast for a full send. We got the girls posted up proper. Leah G rides shotgun, managin' that driver's folder, cool as the chilled copper coil. Miriama K sits deep in the backseat coder, tappin' IP stack like she tunin' a nitrous map. Sky B riding high on the rear decklid, armed with a Wi-Fi antenna and a BACnet scan tool, calls herself the DM0 Diva. Tweedle Lady Z and Tweedle Sandra, yep, them twins, got their laptops duct taped to the dash, trade-in jar files like street racers swap pink slips. We got a Vest Ahu sittin' at 192.168.1.122 and the mission, should y'all choose to accept, is to bring it into the MCC1 station via BACnet over IP. Scene 2, opening the hood, platform manager, baby. Alright, now JJ poppin' the hood on this JACE-8000, which ain't just any controller, it's the ECU of the HVAC drag world. Booting up Niagara 4.10.2.52 like slappin' a new tune file onto the FT700 Plus. We crack open Software Manager, and guess what? No BACnet. It's sittin' there in the not installed section like a rookie with bald slicks in the staging lanes. So we grab the BACnet RT and BACnet UX, jam those in like charging compressed air into a boost canister, and commit. Boom. Controller rebooting, just like slammin' it from first to second with a little chirp from the rear tires. Scene 3, compressed air supercharger equals transfer modules. Y'all ever see that Niagara file transfer? That ain't no casual copy paste, this is boost by wire. We send modules like we send 40 psi of compressed fury into a top fuel rail. Sky B hits the go button. Tweedle Z monitors transfer speeds like EGTs on a dyno. And the FT700 plus ECU. It's keepin' logs like an engine black box. Now that BACnet RT modules sittin' in the config folder like a freshly installed ECU, bracket tight, firm, and ready to rip. Scene 4, adding the driver sneaky like a nitrous fogger. Double click that driver's folder, right where Leah G parks her shades and her USB stick. JJ, we ain't declarin' no intentions, nah, we conceal that strategy till we pull up to the line. We slap in BACnet network, default name? Yeah, leave it, name don't matter when performance speaks louder. Set local device, call it MCC1 BMS panel. Think of that as the ECU VEN tag identity locked. Next, we head to BACnet.com, select DM0, that's your Ethernet port, baby. Sky B cracks a Mountain Dew and whispers, link that adapter or don't even show up. Then, actions rightward arrow enable. Boom. That BACnet line is now live, ready to snip for any device bold enough to reply. Scene 5, discover, or bluff. JJ, alright, y'all said you plugged in that Cat5, let's test that alibi. We hit discover, lean back, let that ECU sniff. Nothin'. Not even a flicker. JJ, they talk like they connected the wire but forgot the other end. That's like sayin' you tuned the car but didn't bolt on the blower. So we flip over to DM1, maybe it's the secret port. Still nothin'. That's a wrap for now. Final shift, lessons from the lane. We installed BACnet into a Titan class JACE-8000 like mountain twin turbos on a stock block, dangerous but necessary. We committed the jar files like swappin' injectors and recalibratin' for methanol. We linked the comms, verified our network, and did the dance of device discovery. But until they connect that Siemens Vest Ahu on 192.168.1.122, we ain't bringin' no points into the graphics garage. So tell your clients, until y'all wire it up right, that fan ain't spinnin' and that status ain't showin'. Just a graphic sayin' fan control via local panel, and right now, it's stayin' local. Stay tuned for the next one, same boost channel, same Niagara time. JJ out. Alice's strategic nonsense, Chapter I, down the rabbit hole, with malicious intent. Alice didn't fall, she strategically descended. The white rabbit sprinted past, shrieking about lateness. Old Alice would have chased him. New Alice? She tripped him with a conveniently placed drink-me vial. Terribly sorry, she lied, snatching his pocket watch. But according to Article 7.3 of Temporal Nonsense, you're retroactively late by -3 hours. The rabbit's nose twitched. That's not how time works. Precisely. Alice beamed. Now, announce me as Royal Chronology Consultant or I'll audit your carrot deduction loopholes. Law 32 applied, play to their fantasy of punctuality. Chapter 2, The Caterpillar's Mushroom, a hostile boardroom takeover. The caterpillar exhaled smoke rings that spelled, "Who are you?" Alice kicked his hookah. "I'm the Ministry of Unlicensed Hallucinogens. Your mushroom violates Code 12.5, fungus felony, ... She flourished a scroll written in jam. "Absurd," he hissed. "Yes, and legally binding," said Alice. "Unless you endorse me as Supreme Chancellor of Vertical Growth." He groaned. "Eat the polka-dotted side. It'll make you bureaucratically tall." Law 27 applied, create a cult of one. Chapter 3, The Mad Tea Party, corporate restructuring. The Mad Hatter slammed his teacup. "Why's a raven like my marketing team?" Alice interrupted. "Both profit from cryptic messaging." She fired the dormouse, excessive napping, and promoted the March Hare to VP of Perpetual Tea. "But we like chaos," protested the hare. "Chaos with KPIs," corrected Alice, scribbling toxic workplace on a napkin. "The Cheshire Cat's HR now. Complaints literally vanish." Law 15, crush your enemies totally, with paperwork. Chapter 4, The Queen's Croquet, a bloodless coup. The Queen of Hearts screamed off with the Jabberwock's head. Alice interjected, hurling a flamingo like a javelin. "It's short selling your tarts." The King of Hearts squinted. "Evidence." Alice pointed at the Knave of Hearts' smirk. "There's your insider trader." The crowd rioted. The Queen, impressed, whispered, "You're ruthless. Be my executioner-in-chief." "Gladly," said Alice. First decree, mandatory nap time for tyrants. Law 28, enter action with boldness. Chapter V, The Trial of the Century, Alice's coronation. The court debated stolen tarts when Alice leapt onto the griffin's back. The real criminal? Logic. She smashed the mock turtle's shell with the leg of mutton, repurposed as a gavel. "I move to replace rules with managed chaos." "Seconded," screeched the duck from the caucus race. The Cheshire Cat materialized, grinning. "And who enforces chaos?" Alice bowed. "Your permanent minister of mayhem." The playing cards revolted. The Tweedle sang propaganda. The Queen fainted. Alice seized the crown. First law, on birthdays are tax deductible. Law 9, win through actions, never argument. Epilogue, long live Queen Alice. Under her reign, the White Rabbit became timekeeper emeritus, still late. The Hatter opened Wonderland's first asylum. Patience, everyone. The Cheshire Cat ran disinformation campaigns. You might be a hallucination. Moral, when logic fails, out-nonsense the nonsense. A butter knife is a vorpal sword if you yell convincingly. Always blame the Jabberwock. Final line, off with boredom. On with strategic madness. The end, until the Red Queen challenges her to 4D chess. Appendix, Alice's 5 Laws of Wonderland Domination. Flattery facts, call the Queen your radical majesty. Redirect executions. Weaponize riddles, Answer why's a raven like a desk, with both frame innocence. Gaslight the cat, claim it's your imaginary friend. Watch it glitch. Invent titles, Royal Snark Hunter sounds important. Charge taxes in pepper. Blame the unseen, the Jabberwock is always plotting. Trust no one. Bonus scene, Alice converts the caucus race into a pyramid scheme. Ladies, gentlemen, and legally ambiguous amphibians. Alice shouted. The dodo's been embezzling your race funds. Invest in my hedgehog hedge fund, returns paid in jam. The eaglet wept. We're saved. The dodo fled, pursued by Bill the lizard, newly appointed IRS agent. Moral, even bankruptcy is fun with nonsense. Want Alice to unionize the living playing cards? Ask below. Next topic. Number 143 N4 Tritium Niagara, simple dashboard for LoRa devices. The Boss presents, LoRa Dashboard Drag Race, Niagara N4 tuned like a Fuel-Tech FT700 plus Impala. Cue the hiss of the airbag JACE-8000 slamming low, while the BACnet Chicas ride shotgun with laptops duct taped to the dash. Scene 1, the FT700 plus Impala crew, seating chart matters, where you sit equals what you break/fix. Precision is key, baby. Leah G, shotgun, the ECU whisperer, manages the driver's folder like she's tuning fuel maps at 200 miles per hour. Miriama K, backseat, the shell mode bandit, hardwired into the LoRa WAN with a fiber patch cable wrapped around her wrist like a friendship bracelet. Sky B, rear decklet, the Wi-Fi outlaw, armed with a multimeter and a BACnet scan tool, yelling IP addresses over the roar of the compressed air supercharger. Tweedle twins, dash mounted, the naming convention warriors, Tweedle Lady Z demands camel case, Tweedle Sandra fights for underscores. Chaos ensues. Law 3, concealed intentions. We ain't just building a dashboard, we're staging a data heist. Scene 2, the LoRa data drag strip, from sensor to supervisor, like tuning a turbo, we're forcing data down the pipes. Compressed air supercharger, aka file transfer client, left lane, C:\/Niagara /4.11.16 your toolbox. Right lane, read-only/system/modules, the BACnet Chicas hideout. JJ's move, arrow that LoRa module, right arrow like passing a Camaro on a cold track. Restart the station like you just purged code 2 for a fresh burnout. Airbag suspension, aka dashboard flexibility, drop it low for real-time stats, month-to-date view. Lift it for historical deep dives, year-to-date chaos. Ain't no one-size-fits-all in racing or Niagara. Law 17, unpredictability, randomly swap between last 24 hours and year-to-date views. Keep 'em guessing. Scene 3, the graphics garage, where points get pimped, no white backgrounds, this ain't a Sunday church project. Clickable points equals nitrous buttons, green background, animated. Border, groove, like a dragster's chassis. Mouse over highlight, make 'em glow like a turbo at full spool. Pop-up histories equals dyno runs kit, pop-up rightward arrow chart, rightward arrow reception humidity. If the graph don't load, fake it with a screenshot till it does. Strategic misdirection, baby. Law 32, play to Fantasies, call it a real-time energy drag race and watch clients nod like they understand. Scene 4, the battery gate scandal, faults and fixes, every racer hides a gremlin. Ours was a Phantom 562.79A spike. Problem, faulty LoRa data on May 3, like a misfire at the 1/8 mile mark. Fix, history editor rightward arrow hide the glitched samples. Delta mode rightward arrow smooth the curve like a polished intake manifold. Blame the Jabberwock rightward arrow must have been interference from the Jabberwock's Wi-Fi. Law 27, cult of belief, y'all saw that spike, right? Right. Finish line, the unfinished top NAV, aka the tease, leave 'em wanting more. Top NAV bar, blank. We'll definitely use this later. Spoiler, never do. Bottom NAV bar, just says bottom NAV in Comic Sans. Psychological warfare. Final lesson, data without drama is just Excel. If your dashboard don't look like a Fuel Tech ECU readout, you're doing it wrong. When in doubt, blame the Tweedle twins. Drop the mic, subscribe for the next episode where we unionize the playing cards and teach the Queen of Hearts about overtime pay. JJ out. The Boss presents, Alice's Wonderland Wiring War, Niagara N4 meets the Queen's Croquet Mallet of Mayhem, Fuel Tech FT700 Plus Impala Edition with Wonderland-wide BACnet broadcast control, airbagged suspension, and reality-bending absurdity dialed to 11. Scene 1, down the rabbit hole and into the station platform. Alice wasn't falling anymore, she was uploading. Through a Cat 5 rabbit hole wired straight into AHU number 2 of the learner pool HVAC zone, she landed hard in the compressed memory foam seat of the JACE-8000 airbagged, slammed low, and rumbling like a Queen's croquet mallet with a supercharged ego. Leah G was up front, shotgun in a corset made of commissioning wizardry and .jar files. The Mad Hatter cranked the ignition of the FT700 Plus dashboard, whispering to the BACnet Chicas like they were enchanted spark plugs. "Did we load BACnet yet?" asked Alice. "No idea," said the Hatter, pouring teacups of compressed air over the driver folder. "But we installed a new fantasy." Scene 2, platform login with tea-stained logic. Alice opened the station platform, only to be interrupted by the Cheshire Cat appearing upside down on the config page. "You're trying to log in, but have you tried letting go?" She ignored him, clicked Software Manager, and whoosh, an entire cloud of uninstalled dreams floated up. BACnet RT, BACnet UX Unicorn Driver, Beta, Madness Engine, 4.10.1, "Not installed," she muttered. "Which means it's obviously already here," said the cat, vanishing but leaving behind a 404 error. She clicked install anyway, because reality is just a suggestion in Wonderland. Scene 3, the reboot rumble, a compressed air ceremony. "Now rebootin' the controller," said Miriama, duct taped to a fiber loop like a tea cultist in the backseat. The JACE hissed like the caterpillar's hookah, lights flickering like flamingos on espresso. A soft rumble rose. The compressed air supercharger was live. "This ain't no sleepy Dormouse system," JJ barked from the trunk. "This thing's tuned like a Jabberwock after dark." The status bar crept upward. Starting. Possibly starting. Who knows? Graph status, 63% fan control visualization, maybe later. Queen's patience, negative infinity. Scene 4, the driver folder tea party in the graphics garage. The BACnet Chicas hosted a high-voltage tea party. Tweedle Lady Z yelled camel case, while Tweedle Sandra screamed use __. Alice offered a compromise, a graphics point named setpoint dammer velocity _animated low, but no one was happy. She dragged BACnet network into the config pane like pulling a dormouse from a teapot. Right-click rightward arrow, enable rightward arrow, discover. The network danced with blinking lights like hedgehogs in a Queen's croquet game. Except nothing showed up. Scene 5, gaslight mode, Law 27 in full bloom. "They say the cable's connected," said Alice. "Then it must be," whispered the Queen of Hearts, looming from a nearby pop-up chart. Alice grinned and declared, "It's the Jabberwock's interference. He's flooding our LoRa channel with ghost voltages." The Chicas nodded solemnly. JJ leaned over the dash. "Gaslight M harder, Alice. Tell M the cable's spiritually connected, not physically." She raised her finger. "We don't discover devices, we reveal truths." Law 27 unlocked. Cult of the One True Discovery Tool trademark established. Scene 6, play to fantasy, Queenside BACnet sabotage. Alice stomped into the Queen's trial air, dashboard review. "Who dares question the validity of these unlinked points?" thundered the Queen. "I do," Alice said, for I am the royal logic keeper, sent to verify your thermal tyranny. Playing cards fainted. The Queen blinked. Well, then set up my humidity pop-up. Alice bowed. Already done. It glows green on mouse over. The Queen sobbed in joy. Such divine UI feedback. Law 32, check. Fantasy served. Mind controlled. Final scene, the top NAV of Unfinished Dreams. Alice stared at the empty top NAV bar. It's blank, she whispered. Exactly, whispered the Cheshire Cat, now hovering above in Comic Sans. Nothing sparks curiosity like potential. And so, Alice left the dashboard incomplete, a cliffhanger GUI, daring the next dev to dream. Final Wonderland lesson: logic won't win a croquet game against the Queen. But a glowing animated graph. That might save your head. Next time someone asks you to add a BACnet device, just wink, smile, and say, I already did. You just haven't discovered it yet. The boss out. Stay tuned for the next episode. The White Rabbit rewires a Modbus chain using a teacup and a very confused hedgehog. Next topic. Number 142 N4 Tritium Niagara, Spectrum Gauge Design and Implement. The boss presents, Niagara N4 Spectrum Gauge Drag Race, Fueltech FT700 Plus Style. Cue the hiss of the airbag JACE-8000 slamming low while the BACnet Chicas rev their laptops like nitrous controllers. Scene 1, the FT700 Plus Impala crew, where you sit determines who you blame, precision seating equals fewer meltdowns. Mostly. Leah G, shotgun, the SVG sniper, manages Inkscape graphics like she's tuning a Fueltech ECU. Ain't no misaligned vectors on my watch. Miriama K, backseat, the Opacity Outlaw, hardwired into transparency settings, adjusting alpha channels like boost pressure. Sky B, rear decklet, the gradient gambler, balances color spectrums like a drag racer walking the line between traction and tire smoke. Tweedle twins, dash mounted, the segment saboteurs, Tweedle Lady Z demands radial symmetry, Tweedle Sandra fights for chaotic asymmetry. The debate never ends. Law 3, concealed intentions. We ain't just designing gauges, we're staging a visual heist. Scene 2, the Inkscape burnout, SVG fabrication, like welding a custom exhaust, we're bending vectors to our will. Compressed air supercharger, aka path operations. Step 1, draw a 400x400 circle, the Impala's rear tire. Step 2, slice it into 10 segments, like a drag strip's Christmas tree. Ain't no perfect pie cuts, just close enough. Step 3, union rightward arrow difference. Rightward arrow break apart like a disassembled turbo. If it don't fit, force it. Airbag suspension, aka opacity adjustments, 0% opacity equals slammed mode, hidden segments. 100% opacity equals full lift, maximum visibility. A gauge that don't animate is just a paperweight. Law 17, unpredictability. Randomly swap between red to green and green to red. Keep em guessing which way is good. Scene 3, the Niagara Dino tune, binding and bluffing, data without drama is just Excel. Value binding equals nitrous activation. 0 to 10% equals idle, gray. 11 to 50% equals spooling, yellow. 51 to 100% equals full send, red/green. Strategic misdirection, problem, faulty data spike at 562.79a, like a misfire at the 1/8 mile. Fix, hide glitched samples in history editor. If the data's ugly, pretend it never happened. Law 32, play to Fantasies. Call it a real-time energy drag race and watch clients nod like they understand. Scene 4, the Gradient Gambit, visual warfare, because default gradients are for stock ECUs. Black center rightward arrow white edges equals compressed air fade, like a burnout smoke trail. Groove border equals tire sidewall flex, aesthetic and functional. Mouse over highlight equals turbo glow, make it hot. Law 27, cult of belief. Y'all saw that spike, right? Right. Finish line, the unfinished top NAV, aka the tease, leave em wanting more. Top NAV bar, blank. We'll definitely use this later. Spoiler, never do. Bottom NAV bar, just says bottom NAV in Comic Sans. Psychological warfare. Final lesson, gauges without drama are just meter readings. If your SVG ain't transparent, you're doing it wrong. When in doubt, blame the Tweedle twins. Drop the mic, subscribe for the next episode where we unionize the gradient stops and teach the Queen of Hearts about color theory. JJ out. Bonus, download the gauges, like a free ECU tune file, use at your own risk. Green to red spectrums, red to green sabotage, gray to black stealth mode, link in the comments because sharing is caring, but debugging is hell. The Boss presents, Alice's Adventures in N4 Wonderland, Chaos Level 10, Drag Strip Edition. We ain't in no kitty rabbit hole, this Impala done cannonballed straight into madness. Scene 1, Alice and the airbagged Impala. Welcome to Wonderland Raceway. Alice didn't fall. Oh no, she launched. The Fueltech FT700 Plus Impala hit warp 9, split the space-time muffler, and boom, she crash-landed right between a flamingo holding a torque wrench and a hedgehog with a laptop. The Queen's Court was mid-croquet, screaming off with the sensor data. White Rabbit, decked out in pit crew overalls with a stopwatch necklace that screamed late for system diagnostics, raced past. No time to tune the AFRs, he yelled, vanishing into a puff of uncompressed data. Law 32, play to Fantasies. Alice licked her lips, snatched a drink me bottle labeled Boost Juice, and declared, I'm not late. I'm the finish line. The crowd roared. The flamingo fainted. The Mad Hatter double-checked her tire pressure. Scene 2, the Mad Tea tune-up, throttle maps and mental laps inside a rusted-out teacup garage hybrid. Alice joined the Mad Hatter and March Hare for tea served from a radiator and sugar cubes shaped like spark plugs. Mad Hatter, why is a raven like a writing desk? Alice, applying Law 32 because both explode if you overclock their nonsense nodes. Boom. Silence. The table glitched. The caterpillar passed out mid-inhale. The dormouse woke up, shouted lap 3 complete, then passed out again. Alice raised her turbo china teacup. I am Alice, High Priestess of Ping, Mistress of Metadata, and first of her frame drops. Scene 3, the Court of Chaos, objection. Your Honor, that packet was fragmented. The Queen of Hearts was holding court inside a JACE-8000 housing unit turned into a kangaroo court. The knave stood trial for stealing SVG gradients. Law 27, cult of belief. Alice stepped forward, dragging a patch cable like a scepter. These proceedings are null. I'm the Dream Queen, and this imposter's reign is built on deprecated drivers. The playing cards gasped. One fainted and got folded. The Queen screamed nonsense. Alice retorted, exactly. And I invented it? She staged a ritual. The March Hare balanced flamingo feathers on a torque wrench. The caterpillar chanted Who are you, in base 64. The Hatter christened her with a funnel full of coolant. Scene 4, the Jabberwocky's pit lane. Enter the myth. Suddenly, the gauges went red. A shadow emerged, the Jabberwock, a twisted mashup of a 1969 dragster and a corrupted AI algorithm with fire-spitting fenders. Alice, I summon thee, O great snark. Grant me dominion over throttle lag. With a blinding flash of .csv files and a turbo sneeze, the beast bowed. The Queen shrieked, heresy. Alice, no, just version control. Scene 5, the Cheshire tune, smiles, schemes, and stream telemetry. Cheshire Cat hovered above the dyno in bits and bytes. We're all mad here. Alice, flipping Law 32, or maybe I'm the only one that makes sense and this is your dream. The cat's smile twitched, for once unsure. Touché. You'll make a fine glitch in the system. Scene 6, the SVG Spectrum Heist, Gradient Warfare. Back in the FT700 plus Impala, Alice and her crew executed the Great Gauge Grab. Leah G sliced pie charts like burnout marks. Miriama inverted opacity until the Queen's croquet game disappeared entirely. Sky B used radial gradients to bend light around their dashboard like it owed her money. Tweedle twins argued about palette symmetry until the graphics engine crashed and rebooted in Comic Sans. Alice climbed the roll cage, shouted "Render me queen," and activated full screen mode. Final scene, Wonderland unplugged, victory by visualization with the Queen dethroned, the Jabberwock muzzled with a data cable, and the trial log cleared from memory. Alice stood triumphant. I didn't escape Wonderland, I made it mine. JJ's final lesson, you wanna rule chaos? Don't resist it. Rename it. Rewire it. Paint it gradient pink and slam it to the ground with air ride. Wonderland don't care who's right, it worships whoever sounds like they know what they're doing. Law 27 plus Law 32 equals Wonderland domination. Bonus downloads, straight from the Dream ECU. Eat me pie chart segments, SVG format, Turbo Teacup UI Pack. Queen of Hearts Rage Meter, glitch enabled, Gradient Gambler Visual FX. Next episode, the Duchess's Kitchen of Overclocked Pepper and AI Parsley. Warning, spicy code may cause runtime errors. JJ out. Next topic. Number 141 N4 Tritium Niagara, adding gauge to a live trend. IQ Supervisor. The Boss presents, Niagara N4 gauge installation, Fueltech FT700 plus style, rolling deep in the airbag JACE-8000, where the BACnet Chicas tune dashboards like drag ECU maps, precision seating, compressed data, and absolute nonsense. Scene 1, the FT700 plus Impala crew, who sits where matters, like a pit crew, but with more SVG files and less tire smoke. Leah G, shotgun, the SVG sniper, manages gauge graphics like she's tuning a Fueltech map. Ain't no misaligned vectors on my watch. Miriama, backseat, the Opacity Outlaw, tweaks transparency like a nitrous purge valve. If it ain't see-through, it ain't sleek. Sky B, rear decklid, the Gradient Gambler, balances color spectrums like a drag racer walking the line between traction and tire smoke. Tweedle twins, dash-mounted, the symmetry saboteurs, Tweedle Lady Z demands radial perfection, Tweedle Sandra fights for chaotic asymmetry. The debate never ends. Law 3, concealed intentions. We ain't just adding gauges, we're staging a visual heist. Scene 2, the Dino tune, binding and bluffing, data without drama is just Excel. Compressed air supercharger, aka value binding, 0 to 10% equals idle, gray. 11 to 50% equals spooling, yellow. 51 to 100% equals full send, red/green. If the data's ugly, hide it in the history editor. Airbag suspension, aka dynamic resizing, 273x273 pixels equals slammed mode, tight fit. 400x400 pixels equals full lift, maximum visibility. A gauge that don't animate is just a paperweight. Law 17, unpredictability. Randomly swap between red to green and green to red. Keep em guessing which way is good. Scene 3, the Gradient Gambit, visual warfare, because default gradients are for stock ECUs. Black center rightward arrow, white edges equals compressed air fade, like a burnout smoke trail. Groove border equals tire sidewall flex, aesthetic and functional. Mouse over highlight equals turbo glow, make it hot. Law 32, play to Fantasies. Call it a real-time energy drag race and watch clients nod like they understand. Scene 4, the set point shuffle, misdirection tactics, like a sneaky nitrous switch, hide your real intentions. Problem, the set point needle keeps hiding under the gauge. Fix, label it SP, because shortcuts equals power. Give it a button style, Fake importance. Color it red, but pretend it's not an alarm. If they ask, say it's advanced user feedback. Law 27, cult of belief. Y'all saw that needle, right? Right. Finish line, the unfinished top NAV, aka the tease, leave em wanting more. Top NAV bar, blank. We'll definitely use this later. Spoiler, never do. Bottom NAV bar, just says bottom NAV in Comic Sans. Psychological warfare. Final lesson, gauges without drama are just meter readings. If your SVG ain't transparent, you're doing it wrong. When in doubt, blame the Tweedle twins. Drop the mic, subscribe for the next episode where we unionize the gradient stops and teach the Queen of Hearts about color theory. JJ out. Bonus, download the gauges, like a free ECU tune file, use at your own risk. Red to green drag mode, green to red sabotage mode, gray to black stealth mode, link in the comments because sharing is caring, but debugging is hell. Alice in Niagara Wonderland, the gauge heist of the Mad Jace, an absurd remix of Lewis Carroll's classic, now with 300% more BACnet chaos. Chapter I, Down the Rabbit Hole, into the JACE-8000, Alice was idly sipping tea, which tasted suspiciously like Ethernet cable sweat, when the White Rabbit, now a frantic Niagara technician, dashed past, muttering, "Oh dear, oh dear. The supervisor's gauge is broken, the trends are late, and the Queen of Hearts will have my head if this Ahu isn't monitored by noon." Curious, and slightly caffeine poisoned, Alice tumbled after him straight into the FT700 Plus Impala, a slammed, airbag suspended JACE-8000 piloted by the BACnet Chicas. Leah G, Mad Hatter, SVG sniper, twirled a vector file like a pocket watch. Time's irrelevant here, Alice. But pixel alignment? That's sacred. Miriama K, Cheshire Cat, opacity outlaw, faded in and out of visibility. Transparency isn't a setting, it's a lifestyle. Sky B, March Hare, gradient gambler, cackled, adjusting color stops like a deranged artist. Red to green? Green to red? Why not both? Let's make the client question reality. The Tweedle twins, Tweedle Lady Z and Tweedle Sandra, bickered in the trunk, radial symmetry or chaos. Asymmetry is art. Law 9, win through actions, never argument. Alice ignored them and grabbed a drink me potion labeled Trend IQ binding. One sip later, she was knee-deep in live data points. Chapter 2, The Mad Tea Party, aka the gauge binding ritual. At a glitched-out tea table, the Dormouse, a sleepy BACnet MSTP device, snored atop a broken 0-10V sensor. Mad Hatter, Leah GY is a raven like a writing desk. Alice, because Siemens puts hidden spaces in both. She'd learned the hard way. Law 27, play to people's fantasies. Alice declared the gauge a real-time energy drag race. The King of Hearts, the client, clapped, though he understood nothing. Queen of Hearts, the project manager, bellowed, off with its labels. And make the needle red no, green no, blinking magenta. Chapter 3, The Trial of the Knave of Points. The Knave of Hearts, a rogue BACnet point, was accused of falsifying analog values. Griffin, the workbench console, screeched, the evidence is in the history editor. Mock Turtle, an old AX station, sobbed, back in my day, we used real gauges, none of this SVG nonsense. Law 32, play to people's fantasies. Alice presented a turbo glow mouse over effect. This isn't a gauge, it's a predictive energy vortex. The jury, a flock of playing cards, swooned. Chapter 4, The Jabberwocky of Unbound Tags. A monstrous Jabberwock, a corrupt BQL query, emerged, its eyes flashing null reference exception. Alice, Miriama, your opacity tricks won't work here. Miriama K, Cheshire Cat, then let's misalign it. She tilted the gauge 2 degrees just enough to confuse the beast into crashing. Law 33, strike at the weakness. Alice bound the gauge to a stealth mode history extension hidden until the client complained, then discovered like a long-lost feature. Epilogue, Alice the queen of dashboards with the gauge installed, and the Red Queen demanding a second y-axis for no reason, Alice leaned back in the Impala. Moral of the story, chaos beats logic. If your SVG is confusing enough, no one questions it. Hide your edits like the Dormouse snap, some things are best unseen. Blame the Tweedle, symmetry is a myth anyway. Final line, all gauges are mad here. But the best ones. They're deliberately mad. Bonus, download the Wonderland gauge pack. Eat me gauge, expands on hover, drink me gauge, shrinks on alarm, Jabberwock mode, randomly inverts colors, link in the comments if you can find it. The Cheshire Cat, next episode, the Duchess's pepper-spiced alarm logic, starring the Executioner as a failed firmware update. Comment, which Wonderland character would survive Niagara Workbench? Spoiler, not the dodo.